everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and we are back here for the summer term, and I am so excited to welcome one of our favorite guests, and certainly the most prolific guest in the history of the Nightly News Podcast, the Dean of Student Engagement, Adrienne Thoman. Adrienne, welcome back to the podcast.
What a warm welcome. I love that, and I'm glad to be back. I appreciate it.
Well, one thing I will say is, of course, people who love to hear Adrienne's banter here with myself can always check out the Pirate Life podcast, in which I am so proud to be the producer of that fine program. And we're getting into the 70s now in terms of number of episodes. Gosh, it's been, about 3 years now?
Plus, and how fast that went.
Plus, right through the pandemic. I mean, I give you a lot of credit for continuing to come to the studio and spread your funny but inspirational messages at the same time. I always certainly leave my experience here with you with a big smile on my face. So I appreciate that. Check out the Pirate Life podcast anywhere you find your podcasts. All right, well, Adrienne, we are here to discuss the summer term, and there is a ton of stuff going on. We were just having a little pre-show meeting here, and I was just very, very pleased with the amount of excellent activities going on here. So there's going to be a few activities that we're going to talk about, but then, of course, coming up later is everyone's favorite segment, Adrienne's featured 3 events for the summer term. Well, I want to kick it off just by giving a little preview. We are going to have you back later this term, but for a little bit different type of an episode. Typically, when you come on, you're talking about all the fun things you have going on for the students here on campus, but you are going to be presenting in our quarterly CPC film series one of your all-time favorite films, Dirty Dancing.
Which I feel so honored to be able to do. It's a big deal to be able to present for the film series. I know how much it meant to you when you had your chance to do it, and I cannot wait to do it.
It's one of these things where I think that with our quarterly term schedule, we are in a much different situation than a lot of other folks who work in higher education, right? A lot of folks who work in higher education have that, fall, have that spring, and then have that little buffer zone.
Buffer zone, I like
summer.
That.
We don't have that. And so trying to recruit folks to do this is a challenge because, many of us are overextended, I think is a good way to put it. And just when we have these conversations, and you've been such an integral part of the film series, I know that I've even had so many people say, well, I don't feel like I'm doing all that much. You got to understand, we have it down to a science at this point. We know what we need to do. It gets done, and it's always
Everybody
fun.
has their specific jobs. And
when you stood up and said that you were interested in doing it, and then talked about really a classic film, Dirty Dancing. And then, of course, on the last Pirate Life podcast, you got to talk about that a bit more. You were talking about, I believe, Jennifer Gray's new book that was out.
Oh, yes.
So just real quick, because we are going to have you back to talk about this in more detail. What was it about the film and why Dirty Dancing?
I have loved that movie. I feel like I have always wanted to be Jennifer Grey. Crazy for Swayze since I was a little girl. And it just speaks to my heart. Who doesn't? It touches on first loves, and it's beautiful. Oh.
One thing I'm looking forward to is I remember at a young age, it came out in 1987, so I was 6 at the time. I remember seeing it at the theater with my mom, and my mom just absolutely loves this movie, and she's going to be there. So she is super, super excited and stoked for this. And of course, even my wife Jackie also loves the movie. So we're going to have both of them there. I'm going to have some other people come in as well, so we're really looking forward to that.
Do you know that to this day, I have probably seen this movie thousands of times, right? Watched it. I could probably quote it the whole way through.
That's how I'm with Wayne's World.
If I catch it on TV and it's like in the middle, I must watch it till the end. I just can't not.
That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's wonderful. And that's the kind of passion that we're looking for in the CPC film series. So just mark your calendars for Friday, August 4th. Doors will be open at 6 o'clock. Adrienne's presentation will take place at 6:30, and we'll get that film started right around 7 o'clock. So again, we'll have Adrienne back in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk a bit more about her love of Dirty Dancing.
We might have to talk about Wayne's World at some point, too.
Wayne's World was one of those ones.
Another classic.
Every day I came home from school when I was in middle school, I'd watch it every single day.
I had watched it so many times on VHS that we had to buy a second VHS.
That's great. And that's really the kind of passion that I'm looking for in, so like even the two that I did, Big Lebowski, obviously one of my favorites, but even A League of Their Own was always one of my favorites too, but in that presentation, I really just talked about my love of baseball. And it's all about finding the passion that people have through film or even through their careers and how that bleeds over into some of the films that they like. So I'm definitely looking forward to continuing this conversation. Well, Adrienne, another one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the fine things you've been doing with our CPC Gives Back initiative with Project Paw this year. First of all, you're going to be doing another drive-in drop-off event on Saturday, July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But first, let's start off by talking about, in previous discussions, we've talked about what Project Paw is, but maybe just in case somebody missed that episode, tell us a little bit about what Project Paw is, and then we'll go to how it's been going so far.
Absolutely. So Project Paw is our annual philanthropic campaign here at the college. Each year, as a college community, we come together and pick one cause that we're going to rally behind and work to support, to raise funds for, to volunteer for. And this year it's Project Paw, which is promote animal welfare. And all of the funds and supplies that we collect, the volunteer hours are all going to support, I believe, is 8 or 9 local animal welfare organizations that are in the counties that surround Central Penn that many of our students reside in.
And that's one of the things that I really like about what we've been doing over the past couple of years and certainly even into this year. While we are working with a statewide organization and even something like the Humane Society that is nationally known, we are working specifically with these organizations that are in the counties that Central Penn College mostly serves. Obviously, we've got people from all over the globe. I've had people in Germany. I've had people all over the United States in my classes, but I'd say something like 90% is coming from this very, I don't want to say small, but geographically small, maybe 8-county region. And so that's one of the things I think is really cool, because instead of just giving it to like a large organization or something, we are actually giving it to people who, not to say that the national organizations don't need this stuff, but we are maybe taking it on a smaller focus on a more local level, which is what I really, really like about the CPC Gives Back. And frankly, honored to be a part of the committee that puts all this together. But you're the straw that stirs the drink here, Adrienne.
No.
You and Curtis, it's like a co-chair.
Curtis is rocking it. I'm just here to help. So
well, you do a wonderful job. So tell us so far. I mean, I know that the CPC Gives Back's only really been just one term since we introduced it, but how's it been going so far?
We are going to. I fully expect us to hit all of the goals that we have. I believe that we are at, I want to say $2,000-$3,000 in
that's incredible.
Raised already. So that's going well. The supplies are a little slower, but also the drive-in drop-offs have been every day. I swear that we have one. It is like the hottest day of that week, that month. So that's been maybe a little bit of a hindrance for people to come out, but I fully expect us to meet our goal. And I just talked to Curtis. He has another sponsor that just got approved that we'll announce shortly. So we're really excited about that. So a lot of good stuff to celebrate.
This is something, frankly, that I'm just so, I know I said I was honored before, but I'm so proud as an institution that we've done this. And in the past, it's not to say that the school, frowned upon helping out. That wasn't the case at all. In fact, for as long as I can remember, we had a certain amount of time every year that we were able to get paid and go volunteer in the community. And of course, people did take advantage of that. But this is something that the entire school could get behind.
Yeah.
And the one thing I am very upset about here with Project Paw
is that Sookie is not winning the cutest pet competition.
Now I'm shocked to hear that.
I am too.
I'm absolutely shocked.
Listeners, you can help with that.
Where can they go to help you with that?
GiveButter.com/CPC-CPC.
There you go. And that's the cutest pet competition. I am upset that I didn't get my guinea pigs in on the cutest pet competition.
Oh, yes.
And you know what was so crazy is I was actually going to do it, and I think something happened that weekend that it totally slipped my mind, and then I missed the deadline. So I'll just share some pictures with you, and we can reminisce about the cuteness of my guinea pigs.
Absolutely. There are 29 pets competing.
That's unbelievable. So who's winning at this point?
I don't know. Michael Fedora's pug is like in the top, one of the top spots. I know that because I've been...
Maybe we should have a little pug battle royale here. See how that goes.
I mean, you know how I feel about puggies. I have a little Frenchie. Sookie's a little Frenchie, but my original baby was a puggy, so it's tough. I'm rooting for the pug too, but Sookie needs to be in the lead.
Aside from that, though, and yes, please, it's highly encouraged that you go support Adrienne's pup at the website that she listed. But I do want to just say Financial donations can be made through our Gift Butter page. If you have items, you can always drop them off in our ATEC lobby anytime during business hours and even in the evenings. And certainly, if you want to, if you're a faculty or staff member here or a student, you can get involved with the groups that we have. There are many teams already that have been formed, but you can even form your own team. And the competition aspect of it is really one of the more fun parts of it. So we're really, really proud of everything that's been going on, not only with Adrienne and Curtis, but the rest of our team, but really everybody who's been involved in this so far. So if nothing else, stop by our drive-in drop-off event. It'll be right across the street from on Valley Road from the Summerdale Campus ATEC building. That'll be July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. One final thing that I wanted to talk about before we get to Adrienne's Featured 3 is one of the marquee student events of every single year, and that is Club Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Club Wars will take place on August 17th from 4 to 7 p.m. Adrienne, tell us more about Club Wars.
So Club Wars is a blast. Every year we do it. It has been just this amazing opportunity for our students to compete against each other. I don't want to compare it to a field day, but those are the kinds of activities that you might do. They did a planking competition, a hula hooping, they change it up every year. I think there might be musical chairs, like a whole kind of different things. We'll let that be a surprise for that night because the students are working on putting that together. But it really is amazing. Last year we had the men's basketball team win the Club Wars championship and the Spirit Stick. So we'll see who takes the title this year.
Tell us about the Spirit Stick.
Oh, it was handcrafted by our art club, and they did an incredible job. It was beautiful.
Where'd they get the wood? I mean,
they pieced it together. It's incredible.
I will have to check this out. Maybe we need to get a picture of that and put it up on the nightly news.
Okay.
So we're really looking forward to Club Wars. It's going to be August 17th from 4 to 7. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific club. It can be other groups of people. It can be athletic teams. It's really just all about building camaraderie, and definitely looking forward to that. If you want more information about that, of course, you can reach out to Adrienne at adriennethoman@centralpenn.edu. Well, we've come to everybody's favorite segment, Adrienne's Featured 3 events for the summer term. So, Adrienne, where do we want to start?
We are starting with the Central PA Pride Festival. This is one event that I love to take our students to every year. It's actually in downtown Harrisburg, so we take our campus shuttle van, take a group of students down there. We have so much fun every year. I love it. I love being able to support the event, and our students always have a blast. They have, I know last year we were there and they had this enormous rainbow flag that hangs from the Capitol. It is beautiful. So I have these amazing pictures of all our students like lined up in front of it. Love doing that. And it's a great event.
Not to say that that's what's necessarily going to be happening this year, but you said you went last year. What were some of tell me a little bit more about the fest. Like, tell me what was going on there. Tell me what were some of the marquee attractions of it.
Well, the flag we talked about, but there's typically a drag show that's performing. So we have performers and a stage, a ton of vendors, so a lot of resources from the community that you're able to get to know and interact with. I remember painting a rock, like you can make like an affirmation rock that you could paint. Just so much. There's little shops and vendors and fun stuff to buy.
And everything's free. So if anybody wants to go, I mean, you can certainly go, but you're offering transportation as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And if you go with the school, we'll pay your admission in.
Oh,
so.
Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. So if you're interested, that's going to be on Saturday, July 30th down in Harrisburg. You can, again, reach out to Adrienne if you need any more information on that. All right. What's event number 2, Adrienne?
Oh, everybody looks forward to this every term. Our Black Student Union, BSU, is doing another karaoke and open mic night. The last time they did this, the theater was packed. Everybody performed. It was so much fun. They do it every term, and every time I feel like it just gets better and better. It's so much fun. That's
going to be on July 27th from 7 to 9 p.m. Obviously free to attend.
Everybody cheers, and it's good.
Have you found any particular students who've shown some amazing singing skills that maybe you didn't know they had?
Oh, they're all rocking out. They're doing great.
Of course.
Well, it's open mic, so I hope Vesta does some poetry, is what
Okay.
I would hope.
And so that's really cool. One of the things about open mic is I think a lot of times people believe that it's just for music. And that's not necessarily the case. So you've got some poets here. You've got some maybe even stand-up comedians, somebody who might want to do a little stand-up set. So open mic, so not only karaoke.
Some dance numbers. We could have some dance numbers in there.
Well, maybe we need to get you and someone else doing some Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey moves.
Oh.
That would be a great advertisement for, seeing as it's only, a week or so beforehand.
I'm going to have to work on the lift.
Well, that is BSU Karaoke and Open Mic Night on July 27th from 7 to 9. All right, last but not least, a big event we have coming up in August.
The Athletics and Activities Banquet on August the 4th. It is an annual tradition. We get together, we celebrate the amazing things our clubs and our teams have been doing. We have a few teams that are just coming back from COVID, so this last season was a really hard time for them because not all of our teams were able to play. So just getting back and to celebrate their persistence, their determination, and they still did a lot of really great things. So.
Absolutely. And I think one of the interesting things here, of course, we definitely want to celebrate our athletes. But this is also about clubs too.
Absolutely.
And it recognizes the clubs that have been able to remain successful here on campus, maybe people who are involved in a community doing community service. I mean, one of the things that I think is fair to say is COVID sort of wreaked havoc on, this is, again, obviously the entire world. I'm not downplaying that. But in terms of Central Penn College clubs, there were a lot of clubs that went dormant over the time because everyone was at home for those 2 terms. A lot of people came and went. Even for us, like in the nightly news, a lot of times, like, we just lost our president and vice president in a single term. So a lot of times, and even the 2 people who are stepping into those shoes now are only going to be here for 2 more terms.
Yeah.
So it's been very, very difficult for some of the clubs to really make it through COVID and to stay relevant. We were very fortunate that we were able to do that. But this year, we really have an opportunity to talk about some of the wonderful clubs that we have here on campus, and certainly the athletes, of course. We are actually really looking forward to announcing the Nightly News Player of the Year. Of course, I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but that was something that, Adrienne, we started working on, I believe, back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So we didn't do one, obviously, for the 20 season because we didn't have sports, but I will say that we are very, very much looking forward to announcing our 3rd Nightly News Player of the Year. Can you remember who the first 2 were? I'm really putting you on the spot here with this one.
I remember it was Connor.
Connor was the inaugural.
Jalen.
Absolutely. Very good. You win the trivia question today. Our previous 2 were Connor Graham and Jalen Burton-Jones.
Incredible athletes.
Absolutely, and we miss them very much, and I hope that they're both doing very well. But the legacy will continue with the Nightly News Player of the Year that will be announced at the Athletics and Activities Banquet on August 4th. That's open to anybody. There is a sign-up process, and again, I will just put your email on there. You have any questions about any of the things that we've talked about, you can always reach out to Adrienne. Let's do a quick rundown. First things first, the Project Paw Drive-In Drop-Off. That's going to be on Saturday, July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The BSU Karaoke and Open Mic Night will take place on July 27th from 7 to 9 p.m. The Pride Fest, Adrienne will be providing transportation on July 30th in Harrisburg. You can reach out to her if you'd like more information. And last but not least, the Activities and Athletics Banquet will take place on Thursday, August 4th from 5 to 7 p.m., followed by Friday, August 5th, the CPC Film Series with Dirty Dancing. Of course, we'll have Adrienne on back in a couple of weeks to talk a bit more about that. So we got a lot going on here this term, Adrienne.
I love it. It's summer. It's busier. It's good stuff.
We're so happy to have you here on the show to promote all these wonderful things. And I got to be honest with you. Obviously, I'm looking forward to all these events, but I'm super looking forward to the film series. So
Me too.
I hope that you are too. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know.
I got to get to work.
You got plenty of time. From when we're recording, you still have almost a month. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the Athletics Director, Kasey Hicks, to talk about some amazing things in athletics. But for now, thank you so much to our most wonderful and prolific guest in the history of the Nightly News podcast, the Dean of Student Engagement, Adrienne Thoman. Adrienne, again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Stay tuned for Kasey Hicks. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's Community Relations Coordinator Curtis Volker, and you're tuned in to the Nightly News Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I am honored to be joined by our Central Penn College Athletic Director, Kasey Hicks. Kasey, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Paul. I always love being here. You know that.
Well, I'm glad I haven't scared you off. One of the great things, and it's very interesting because Kasey and I just had a really long conversation. One of the things that I'm most proud of in my career in general is the opportunity that I have with the Central Penn Knights athletics team. And I got to be honest with you, certainly I've gotten a lot of support from previous athletic directors, but never have I gotten so much support as I've gotten with you. So first of all, I just want to start off today by saying thank you. I can promise you I'm not always the easiest person to deal with. But just always remember that I've got not only the school, but our athletes' best interests in mind. So I just want to thank you so much for all of the hard work that you've done over the past year. It's frankly amazing. If we look back 1 year ago, we're coming off COVID. We have a season where none of our teams played, and other than, an abbreviated baseball season. And coming into last season, it was almost like the look on your face when I had you in last year was just like one of almost being defeated. And you come in today, and it's just like literally night and day for our athletics program of what's happened over the past year. It's really quite amazing.
Yeah, no, it's been exciting. It feels good to see our students back out there. The interactions with them, like you just mentioned, are completely different. The morale is up. Everybody's excited. We've had some big partnerships. You know about our new homes that we found for our athletic team. So,
which we'll talk about.
Yeah, this past year has been extremely rewarding. So,
well, let's rewind a little bit to baseball. Obviously, we had you on earlier in the season last year to preview the baseball season, but let's tie a little bow on the baseball season. What more could you ask for? We had an amazing run at FNB Field. We had community night with well over 500 people, certainly the largest crowd ever, and the most wins and highest winning percentage in the program's history, and a lot of young players that are going to continue to be here over the coming years. I mean, what a bright future for Central Penn baseball after this amazing season.
That is exactly right. And it's like they didn't even get to their ceiling yet. The ceiling is so much higher than what we put out this year, and you see the success. So there's a lot of excitement around that baseball program right now. Coach Stern has done an awesome job recruiting, put together a really great team. Like you said, they're young. We get so many of them back. I think that home field at FMB really elevated and put some excitement behind the team. So that's just next year. I can't even wait. Baseball's going to be exciting all over again.
Walk me through that April 22nd game. That's a date that will be tattooed on me for the rest of my life. Just remember an April 22nd and just number one, a beautiful day.
Yeah.
We'll just start there. We woke up. It was a beautiful day. We were all over there pretty early. Walk me through that day.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Beautiful day. The sun was out. You couldn't ask for better baseball weather. April 22nd, man, like you said, almost over 500 people at FMB Field to support our Central Penn Knights. We had closer look the same day. So we had all of our incoming potential Central Penn students and student athletes at the game, which was awesome for them to be able to see that. Invited partners, community members, and we partnered with the Senators to make it a special game. So we also did the Jumbotron, walkout songs, games. We had alumni, Brian Christiana, shout out to him. He came back and was the MC for the game, and he did a phenomenal job. He's so talented.
Nightly News Hall of Famer Brian Christiana.
There you go. That's right. He was just the energy in the stadium was. He controlled that, and he did amazing. So we gave out prizes. We had concessions. We had everything all set, and the boys were excited. Honestly, Paul, I think they still come into my office and talk about April 22nd. So like you said, a date we will never forget. We ended up with a big win. Everything came together. The stars aligned that day, and we had an amazing day that we'll always remember at Central Penn. Yeah.
I obviously had the fortune of calling games all season with Professor Tom Davis, which we had just had a blast, and that game was just so wonderful to call. I've actually went back and watched it probably like 3 or 4 different times, but there was something that I hadn't told you that I think that you might be interested in. So obviously we're there very early, and we had the opportunity before we went on the air, and for the life of me, Kasey, I can't remember this gentleman's name. However, we got to sit and talk for probably a good half an hour to a person who played on the very first Central Penn baseball team, I believe 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds
2013 or
accurate.
2014.
14, yeah.
And they only played a small handful of games, and he said, and he's obviously went on to graduate and, you know, proud Central Penn alum, and he said that, and literally the guy, tears in his eyes, when he said, when I heard about this, and I remember back to 2013, we're just trying to get this thing off of the ground and trying to find a place to play and all this. When I heard that these guys were going to be playing here, I took off work. He brought a bunch of his friends. I mean, it was just... that was how we started our day.
Yeah.
You know, once we got set up and we were kind of, you know, just kind of waiting it out, guy came out, oh, you know, you're calling these games, and you know, it was really, really cool. Also got to see older players come back. I saw Christian Fulp there that night.
Yep.
So it's honestly, I don't want to belabor this point, Kasey, but in my career, most certainly the most memorable game I've ever gotten to call. Just for all of these different reasons. How nice it was, how beautiful of a day, how great the team played all across the board. Just seeing some old faces, having Brian there, having Christian there, meeting a player literally on the first team ever. Gosh, it was just, and that was, you know, effectively, there was one more home game after that, but that was our last FMB game. Just so amazing. So
no, that was awesome. We celebrated senior night that night, so we got to recognize Colby Edwards, which was awesome for him. But that story you tell about the player, it gave
gosh,
me
I am so mad I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry.
It gave me the chills. Like that's what it's about, is being able to elevate and create these moments for our students. And then for our alumni to come back and be able to still be a part of that program. My goal in athletics is to build that family feel. So to have those players keep coming back, supporting our team, seeing the growth, that is exactly what it's about for me. So I appreciate you sharing that story, because that means the most.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, baseball was wonderful this year, of course. Look for myself and Professor Davis to be back on the mic next year to do some continue calling these games. It was a tricky season in terms of some weather issues, and that's always going to happen when you start trying to play baseball in March, you know. Well, I want to move on to some other things. First of all, some big news came out this week about something that you've been working on for quite some time. In the 22-23 athletic season, we will have a brand new co-ed team in esports. The Knights will compete as a varsity team in the National Association of Collegiate Esports. And that's something that's been going on sort of behind the scenes for a while, but actually was kind of surprising when I saw that, because when we had spoken previously, you'd said that you weren't really sure what the future of esports was going to be. So tell me how this all came to be.
Yeah, so esports started here as a club. We have the gaming club, which will still be. So now we have separate the gaming club, which will just be the more recreational type of sports. And then we have the esports team, which, like you said, is going to be an intercollegiate team. It was really sparked just by the interest of the students. The interest and the commitment really started to grow under Michael Picot and Donnie Lewis's leadership. They are our head and assistant coach of the esports team, and they really just started recruiting, talking about esports and what it can be. And when that commitment went up and the students started competing, they finished strong in the JV league, and we talked about it. We had several meetings, and we said, hey, you know, this team's ready to compete at a higher level. So bringing them over was a no-brainer. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of interest in gaming and esports right now. So to be able to support those students the same way we're able to support our student athletes was an easy transition for us. And they will be competing underneath. They'll be competing in the varsity league now, so they'll have a couple more challenges, be able to compete at a higher level, but I think they're up for the challenge, and I'm excited to see that program grow under the coach's leadership.
One of the biggest things that continues to blow my mind as a sports fan is the popularity of esports. And it's not to say that I don't understand why video games are, I mean, I remember playing video games a lot when I was a kid. The gamified nature of it, the size. I mean, I've seen esports competitions with like thousands of people in the audience. I mean, it's really incredible. And I will say that obviously this was another situation where COVID just really decimated our esports. We had went all in. We upgraded the gaming lab and really had done so much to get this off of the ground. And then COVID happens, and it's just like, oh my gosh, all that hard work that had been done was for naught. But that's just not true. And Michael, I'm so glad you brought Michael up, former Central Penn Knight baseball player, Michael Pica, the most polite and respectful human being that I've ever met in my life. I absolutely love the guy.
He's a good guy.
I'm so glad that him and Donnie are leading this charge, and I'm so happy that we have another co-ed sport. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and certainly wish esports the best. Not a whole lot more information at this point, but you anticipate when would the esports season be?
So they would have basically 2 in-season pockets, and they would compete in the fall and then again in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, gotcha. So I'll tell you what, we'll have you and Michael on and Donnie on in the fall term right before they get started.
That would be great. They're a good duo to get on to. They've been fun to work with. They keep my job interesting. Like you said, esports was kind of new to me too, so I joke with them and say, hey, I'm probably going to learn more from you than you guys might be learning from me as an intercollegiate sport. So I have a lot to learn about esports, and those two keep it interesting. They keep it fun. They're a good duo.
Now, another sport that we'd been trying to get off the ground for quite some time and finally looks like it's going to come to fruition is our women's volleyball team.
Yep.
You said the interest level was off the charts. You said at an interest meeting recently, well over a dozen students there talking about being a part of basketball. Being a part of the women's volleyball team. I mean, this has got to be huge for you because I remember our last sports section that we had was you with the volleyball on the back. This was like 2018 or 2019. To know that those first games of Central Penn women's basketball are going to be played this year, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. So women's volleyball has been an initiative of mine for the past 3 years now.
Did you play volleyball? I
didn't. I played recreationally. I played intramurals, and I loved it. I wish I was better at it because I might have picked volleyball over basketball, but
I think you made the right choice.
That wasn't God's plan. I do think I made the right choice at the end of the day, but I enjoy volleyball, and I love watching it. It's probably one of my favorite sports to watch. 2019 is when we had kicked it off, and then what came shortly after. COVID kind of set that back, and the indoor sports was a little bit more difficult navigating that during COVID.
Without a doubt.
For the past 2 years, it's kind of been pressed pause, and this year we have a new coach, Caitlin Kreider, and she is coming to us from Penn State Harrisburg. Played intercollegiately, has a huge passion for the game, which is really important for me, and to be able to get this half schedule of games on the paper for them and be able to see them take off this season, I am really, really excited. I think Caitlin's going to do a great job. I think this program's really going to take off.
Now, the women's volleyball still is looking for a home, so you did say that just this season, hopefully, there are going to be some road games.
Right.
But again, once that schedule and everything gets finalized, we will absolutely put more information out, and maybe we can coordinate a bus trip to van trip or what have you to one of the local places. So who are some of the teams that they might be playing?
Yeah, speaking of local, I was just going to tap in there. We are playing Hack, which is nice. So just right across the river, quick jump. We can we'll operate that like a home game because that'll be a good win to steal from Hack across the river. And then we're prioritizing the conference. So about our newly developed ESAC, Eastern States Athletic Conference. We'll be competing against Bucks County Community College and Manor College for women's volleyball. I think we also slipped Christian Dome in there. So those will be our 4 competitors this year, playing doubles against some of those. So I think women's volleyball this year is looking at 7 total games for this season. And then the coach will also use the year as a recruitment year too, so to continue to build and grow that program, get it off the ground and running.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. So, I mean, this is really incredible. Not only do we get to talk about baseball, but we get to talk about basically 2 new varsity sports from esports to volleyball, which are going to have their first games in the history of our college here this year. Kasey, that's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's exciting, and I think there's more in store for the future. I know we want to continue to see growth in the athletic department, so hopefully maybe a year from now we're sitting down talking about 2 new sports as well. So that's the goal.
Gosh, do you sleep?
Yeah. Don't ask that. Don't ask that.
One final thing I want to talk about. Obviously, one of the biggest and most popular sports here at Central Penn College is our soccer teams, both men's and women's. The men will kick off on August the 24th. The women will kick off on August the 27th. Both road games. The first women's home game September 8th. The first men home game September 10th. And you've got some, I wouldn't call it news. It's been out for a little while, but they're going to be playing at a new venue. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so just like baseball, we found a new home for our soccer teams. They will be competing at home every home game this year at City Island at the Skyline Sports Complex.
Which is amazing. And if you don't know where it is, if you would just keep walking past FNB Field, right next door, and if you're on the first base line, you can see it. Former home of the City Islanders.
That's right, yeah. Former home of the City Islanders, so some professional background at that venue as well. So lots of history at these facilities that we're using, a lot of excitement for these new teams. City Island's beautiful. You got the river right there, riverfront view. It's a beautiful place to play. It's a good place to call home. We're going to be able to kind of make it our own. We'll be using the Knights locker room in FMB for our soccer team,
Nice.
so they'll find a home in that locker room. And then we're going to personalize the scoreboard, get some signs, Central Penn stuff out there. So it's definitely going to feel the most like home that we've had in a while here. So lots of development, lots of great things for our teams.
One thing that I wanted to wait till we got to this part, aside from baseball, this partnership with FMB Field and Skyline Sports, I really think is going to elevate, and I'm sure you believe this too, right? It's going to elevate our recruiting because when you are talking about in the USCAA conference playing at FMB Field or playing, and again, I'm not talking down to any, listen, FMB Field is basically a major league park.
Right.
I mean, it may not have the capacity of a major league park, but anyone who's ever been there, and I've been there a million times, it is top shelf amenities in terms of, practice facilities there, in terms of the batting cages, and we have our locker rooms. If you're a recruit, why wouldn't you want to play on a professional field?
Definitely. I think that's something that's absolutely going to set us apart from our competitors. I know it's not at Central Penn College, our own field, but like you said, the history there, the amenities, the moment you walk through those gates at FMB Field, you feel something special. And to be able to walk into your own locker room with Knights branding everywhere, it's definitely home for our student athletes. And recruiting, I think that's just going to elevate us for both programs. Soccer, the same thing. So we're hosting a baseball prospect camp at FMB August 17th. So to be able to use those prospect camps and get those students in there to see FMB and really get that feel for this could be your home field, it's definitely something special. It'll for sure elevate recruiting for our coaches.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we have the soccer season coming up later this term. Tell us some things that we can look forward to in terms of the soccer teams.
Yeah. So men's and women's soccer, like you said, getting ready to kick off in August. I am most excited because, like many of our other sports, these two sports, this is their first time back out since COVID. We definitely, took a hit from COVID in 2020. Last year, we tried to do a little combo men's and women's program because we lost some students to graduation. It was difficult to bounce back. But this year, we have new men's soccer coach, Brian Osborne, who has come in and done an amazing job recruiting. He's brought in about 12 or 13 freshmen for his program. So you talk about the baseball team being young and having that promise. I think you're going to see that same exact thing for our men's and women's soccer programs who ultimately had to start over. So, hard work, a lot of effort was done from coaches, but the ability to bring in those freshmen and make an impact and keep a young team together shows promise for the future. And that's exactly what I'm hoping for and what I hope we'll put out there for the soccer teams this year as well.
Well, everybody mark your calendar, September 8th for the women's home opener, September 10th for the men's home opener. That'll be at Skyline Sports in Harrisburg on City Island. One final thing that I wanted to talk to you about. You'd mentioned that there was going to be an upcoming soccer tryout for the women's team. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so men's and women's soccer will both have open tryout. The first official date is going to be Monday, August 8th. So Monday, August 8th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Adams Rickey Park is where we will hold those tryouts. So any interested women's soccer player, men's soccer player who want to give it a shot, try out for the team, absolutely, we are looking to keep those tryouts open and get some more people involved. So,
and also since the season starts in the beginning of, well, obviously late August, but in terms of home, September, maybe somebody who's even looking at coming to Central Penn in the fall might be still interested. Tell me if that's a possibility.
That's definitely a possibility. So we actually do have that happen often. Anybody who wants to start in the fall is able to compete in our summer sports as well. As long as they are through financial aid, cleared, ready to go, they can start early. So they could start in August.
Oh, wow.
Before the start, as long as they are all cleared up and packaged through financial aid, they're good to go.
That's
so we
fantastic.
can bring those fall students in there as well.
Kasey, I have to tell you, it is such a pleasure to get to work with you. I probably work with you more than I work with almost anyone else here. And I have to be honest, it's not easy. And I know what you go through, but it's so rewarding.
Yep.
I mean, the stress all goes away when the ball
That's what it is.
gets in play.
That
I mean,
is
it
it.
really does. And, I obviously really, really respect you, what you do, but also the opportunity that you afford the Nightly News Media Club. And we certainly look forward to a continued and even expanded partnership. I mean, my goal is again to call every basketball, every baseball game within my means to do so. And who knows, maybe we'll expand to road games. Maybe we'll expand, especially with the conference now. I think having the road games might be a lot more of a possibility. And also certainly, maybe branching out to some other sports as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I know you keep thanking me, Paul, but I tell you all the time, man, you have been a blessing to these student athletes, and you have elevated the athletic department all on your own just through the Nightly News Media Club. So,
I got a lot of help. It's not just me, but I do appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I want you to know how valued you are too. I see your hard work, and I think we make a good team. I think it's good. I know we're both busy and pulled in 100 different directions, but like you said, to be able to see the students reap the benefit and be able to sit there and watch those games, that's what it's about.
Well, and I promise we'll have you back in the fall talking a little bit more about esports as we get ready to kick that season off as well.
That would be great. We would love that.
Cool. Well, Kasey, as always, it's such a pleasure to get to chat with you. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon here with the Nightly News.
Thank you, Paul. Always a pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. For the athletic director of the Central Penn Knights, Kasey Hicks, this is Professor Paul Miller, and I'll see you again next time on the Nightly News Podcast.